Good morning everyone. The film begins with a woman named Nortin, who is about to give birth, and her husband Mustafa seems to be worried about her. At the same time, in another scene in the film, we see a rich woman who is also about to give birth, but her condition seems bad, so her assistant, Najla, calls the husband of the woman giving birth, Zahir, but he refuses to take his wife to the hospital, where it turns out that his only concern is to save the child and the death of his wife does not bother him. Nortin manages to give birth, then she and her husband rejoice, and on the other side, the rich woman and the newborn die together during childbirth. We inform you, dear viewers, that Zahir covets the wealth of his wife who died because she wrote a will saying that his newborn should inherit all his wealth after his death, and in case the child also dies, all the money should be donated to charity. Zahir asks Najla to try to kidnap a newborn baby girl so that he can register her in her name and execute the will to capture the wealth. The next day, Najla went to the crime scene and met their boss, who had lost her eye. Najla offers her $100,000 to kidnap a newborn baby girl, then the man accepts her request and presents her grandson Zarok. In this scene, we see Mustafa and his wife working in the field, where the woman brought the newborn with her, then made him a bed under the tree to stay by his side while helping her husband because they need money. The gang leader tries to send his son Zarok to kidnap the little girl, then Nortin hears the sound of his crying and sees that the men have kidnapped his daughter, so they try to run after them, but to no avail. After that, the gang leader gives the child to Najla and Zarok notices that a bracelet has fallen from his hand, so he gives it to Najla, but she asks him to keep it. Najla hands the baby over to Zahir, but he sees a stain on the baby's body, so Najla tells her that it's a sign and that she will stay in the baby for the rest of her life. After that, Zahir kills the gang leader to leave no incriminating evidence of his actions. Several years later, Mustafa realizes that his little daughter is dead, unlike his wife, who still feels she is alive. Zarok grew up afterwards, too, and decided to help Mustafa and Nortin on the ground because he felt guilty about them but didn't tell them the truth. Norton's daughter grew up in Zahir's house and lived a life of luxury, and her name was Zarok, and the mark on her body was in the form of the letter Z. The beautiful girl believes that the mark is a sign that one day she will fall in love with a young man whose name begins with the letter Z. Zarok tells her friend that she is upset because her father does not care about her and that the girl was preparing for her engagement with a young man chosen by Zahir to fulfill the will of his deceased wife, since he will receive the inheritance after Zarok's marriage. In the next scene, Zarok tries to escape a man who stole his money, and by chance Zarok enters Zahir's mansion and tries to hide inside. Meanwhile, Zarok's fiancé tells his father that he doesn't want to get involved with Zarok, but his father tries to convince him to marry him because he also wants to share the inheritance with Zahir. Zarok tries to look for something of value to steal. Then he enters Zarok's room and steals his necklace, and suddenly Zarok comes, so Zarok tries to hide, but she sees him, then she starts to scream and Zarok jumps out the window, and on his way, he tries to steal Zarok's fiancée's watch and quickly escapes. Zarok finds Zarok's shoes and the letter Z was written on the shoes, so Zarok is glad that his wish has come true. The next day, Zarok thinks of a way to find Zarok and get to know him. As she walks into a cafe with her friend where criminals and thieves gather, she tells the cafe owner that she has come to get the one that matches the shoes, and Zarok sees the two girls and tries to hide from them. Zarok's girlfriend tells everyone that she will give the shoe owner $1,000, then everyone in the cafe will gather to participate to identify the shoe owner and get the reward. Zarok loses hope and leaves the scene, but suddenly, two criminals who were in the cafe try to catch up with them and threaten the girls with death to take the reward. Zarok comes and tries to save the two girls, and inadvertently Zarok hits him and the two fall to the ground. When Zarok sees a necklace around Zarok's neck, she is sure that he is the young man who was in her room and that he is the boy of her dreams that she was looking for. The next day, Zarok disguises himself and fetches Zarok, and when she sees him, she tries to follow him until he enters his house. Zarok comes in for a shower, then Zarok takes advantage of it and tries to take a look at the house, then notices that Zarok writes the letter Z everywhere. Zarok comes out of the bathroom, then Zarok tries to hide, and when she sees him change clothes, she tries to escape but hits the wall and loses consciousness. When Zarok awakens from her coma, she tries to leave quickly so that her father does not discover her absence and tells Zarok that she likes him well before he leaves. When Zarok arrives at home, she discovers that her phone has fallen into Zarok's house and that she must return home to pick up the phone. In the next scene, Zarok goes to Nurten and Mustafa's house and tries to give them a box full of clothes to distribute to the poor. Zarok feels guilty about kidnapping Norton's daughter and wants him to be able to return her. In this scene, we see that Zarok arrives at Zarok's house and has to break down the door of his house to pick up the phone, then Zarok arrives at home and finds Zarok asleep. Zarok tries to wake her up and then asks why she follows him, then the girl tries to show the sign and tells him that she is looking for someone whose name begins with the letter Z. After that, Zarok tells Zarok about his life by saying that his father forces him to marry a young man she doesn't like, then Zarok asks him to leave because he was afraid of being arrested by his fiancé's father because he is a police officer. Zarok tries to calm Zarok and tells him that she will give him the necklace in memory of her in exchange for giving him the bracelet in memory of him. Zarok refuses to give him the bracelet, and we find that it is the same bracelet that fell from the hand of the kidnapped child, who is Zarok, of course. Suddenly, two men come and try to arrest Zarok because he stole their money, so Zarok takes the girl and tries to run away with her, and Zarok seems to be very happy with him even if she is a rich girl and he is only a poor thief. After Zarok's return home, she tells her friend everything that happened with her and is happy to have been free of the restrictions her father imposed on her. After that, Zarok goes to the area where Zarok lives and spends most of the time with him, and as the days go by, their relationship develops and they get closer and closer. One day, Zarok asks Zarok about his family and he tells him that he was born in an orphanage and knows nothing about his parents, and when he was 6 years old, he was adopted by a gang leader, then the latter was killed in front of his eyes. We discover through history that the man Zarok speaks of is the one Zahir killed during Zarok's kidnapping in the past. Zarok confesses his love for Zarok and wants to get involved with him, but he tells her that he can't get involved with her because he's just a thief and she's a rich family girl. After that, Zarok takes Zarok home, and when she enters, Zahir tries to beat her because she is late, then he prevents her from leaving. Then she enters her room crying in sadness because she felt that Zahir is not her real father because of her mistreatment of her. The next day, Zahir meets his partner and Zarok's fiancé, where he says his actions are strange and that she obviously has an affair with a strange young man, so the marriage procedure must be expedited to obtain the fortune of his deceased wife. Zarok's fiancé meets his friend by chance and asks her why Zarok's life has changed. Her friend tells her that Zarok has a crush on a young man named Zarok, then Najla is shocked when she hears Zarok's name. After that, Najla goes to visit Zarok, who recognizes her immediately when he sees her. Najla orders Zarok not to see Zarok again and to stay away from her because he could be in a lot of trouble, then Zarok's fiancé threatens to kill him if he tries to get close to her. Zarok throws him to the ground, then he is shocked that Zarok is the child he took from his parents, and he could not understand the coincidence with which she reunited him. Zarok grabs Zarok's bracelet, then feels happy to have found it and can now correct his mistakes. In the next scene, we see Zarok in her room. She's sad and suddenly, Zarok comes in and tells her that he's going to save her from this place. In this scene, Zahir is seen beating Najla when he can't find Zelish because she's responsible for her. Then Najla remembers her suffering when she was Zahir's wife's assistant, and it was he who planned with the gang leader to remove his eye to help him kill his wife. Zahir asks his partner for help, then they can locate Zarok via his phone. Meanwhile, Zarok takes Zarok to get to know his real family and asks for his wish, to which Zelek responds by saying she would like to see his real mother. After that, the two arrive at the house of Zelek's real family and suddenly, Zahir's men arrive and kidnap Zelek. Then Zarok tries to catch up with her and kidnap him too. Zelek wakes up and finds himself at his fiancée's house, then tries to open the door to escape, but Najla tries to stop him and tells him the truth and tells her that she has only one solution, which is marriage. Then Zahir will take the inheritance and then he will release her. After that, Zahir gives her a wedding dress and tells her that the lawyer will arrive today to perform the necessary procedures for her wedding and obtaining the inheritance, then asks Zelek's fiancé to try to kill Zarok. After a while, Zelek's friend comes with Zarok's friends and asks for Zelek's help. Meanwhile, Zelek tries to sign his marriage contract, but Zarok tries to jump into the building where Zelek is and tries to stop him. Then the place is ruined because of an attack from Zarok's friends. Zelek and Najla try to take Zarok for treatment, then Najla asks him to take Zelek to his parents. Zelek runs away with Zarok in the car and suddenly his fiancée appears in front of her, but without any attention, she tries to hit him with the car. Zelek comes to his real family, then Zarok confesses to him that he was the one who kidnapped her, then faints. Zelek screams and by chance Mustafa and Nurten hear him and then they take Zarok for treatment and when he wakes up, he finds himself sleeping with Zelek in his parents' house and then decides to tell the truth. Nurten walks into the girl's room and feels that Zelek is her daughter, who was kidnapped years ago. Nurten questions Zarok about the girl's family, then he confesses that he was the one who kidnapped his daughter as a child, gives him his child's bracelet and tells her that Zelek is his daughter. At the same time, Zelek sees the photo of Nurten kissing his daughter with the same bracelet that with Zarok, and understands that Nurten is his mother and finally finds his family. After a while, Zarok goes to jail for theft, and after his release, he finds Zelek waiting for him, then they leave, and so Zarok lives a happy life with Zelek.